Over the last couple years, we have seen a phenomenon of the American participation in the world's preeminent soccer club competition, the Champions League. A huge jump in that number. We used to have one, maybe two guys in the tournament. Now we're having double-digit players. In 2021, 2022, in the group stages, 12 players were in the Champions League. This year, it started with 10 players in the group stages. In 2020, we had an American lift the Champions League trophy. Christian Pulisic when Chelsea won it. This is happening so fast. The numbers would suggest that by the year 2025, we would have 30 players in the Champions League. We'd have two facing each other in the final. But alas, it has taken a turn. As we head into the Champions League knockout stages this season, 2023, we have two. Actually, we have three. I don't want to include Timmy Chandler because, well, he doesn't play a lot for Eintracht Frankfurt and not really in the American system. He's not getting called up anytime soon. Well, maybe I could be wrong. We shall see. We don't have a coach or a sporting director. We have Gio Reyna, who's playing with Borussia Dortmund and not playing a lot. You know, I didn't want to talk about Gio Reyna. 2 games for Dortmund this week. He played in neither. He didn't get off the bench. We've heard some reports that he's maybe not 100% healthy, and they're bringing him along slowly, which it feels like we've been hearing this for 18 months. And there's also the case of other players like Julian Brandt and a boatload of guys that are playing out of their minds. Dortmund are now co-leaders in the Bundesliga, 1 foot in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So you have Gio Reyna. He'll play at some point, but maybe not. He's not in the inner circle right now. And then you have Christian Pulisic, who's not playing. He's injured. This could be the big story of all of this. He is on the roster for Chelsea, but we're still seeing if he's going to get back, and they may not make it through to the quarterfinals, having already gone down in their first leg game as I record this. We shall see. Chelsea's in a bad shape. I cannot believe that they are playing this poorly. It's truly stunning. Serginho Dest is with Milan. He is not on their Champions League roster. So really we have those 2 guys. We had a bunch in the group, so we have 2 guys to look forward to. What happened? What happened? Well, today on the Soccer OG. Before we get into it, I did want to remind you to check out the Soccer OG podcast. Got a great one there with Felipe Cardenas. We're going to have an MLS preview with some of my good buddies coming up this week. So check out the entire Soccer OG podcast library where all podcasts are available. But I did want to tell you the Soccer OG shop is up and running. Go now to the following address, the/OG/shop0.myspreadshop.com. the/OG/shop0.myspreadshop.com. Get yourself a t-shirt. They're going to love you at the stadiums, wherever you are, in whatever country, with your new gear right there. the/OG/shop0.myspreadshop.com. Just trying to get it down to memory. So, we're going to tell you today on the Soccer OG why that's happening and why it's not necessarily a bad thing. Because playing at that level, are we ready? Christian Pulisic certainly is. Is Gio Reyna? I don't know, man. I don't know. Hopefully Dortmund go on a nice run. Hopefully Dortmund win a Bundesliga shield and Gio Reyna is draped in silver and gold. But that's it. We may not see either one of them take the field. Pulisic on an injury time, and Serginho Dest, he's not on the roster at all. Gio Reyna not playing at this moment, but he did come on as a super sub and score their goal, so we're optimistic here. So why is this happening? Well, players are going to situations where they're not competing for Champions League spots. The big move was the 3 Leeds players, because separately, all 3 of them were Champions League players the previous year. Tyler Adams with Leipzig, Brandon Aronson for Red Bull Salzburg. I mean, you remember that knockout stages? Red Bull Salzburg was in there with Brandon Aronson, and then lately Weston McKennie was with Juventus. So they all cleared up. Just to look at that 2021 season, remember we had Zach Steffen. I mean, he was a losing finalist to Christian Pulisic in 2020. You had John Brooks at Wolfsburg, Serginho Dest at Barca, Jordan Pefok was at Young Boys, Chris Richards was with Bayern, Owen Otasowie was with Club Brugge, and it was a massive grouping. This year we had, again, 10. Remember, John Brooks was with Benfica. He's now at Hoffenheim, so he can't be included in the knockout stages, even though Benfica is in the knockout stages. So that was a close call there, even though John Brooks never got on the field for Benfica. You had the guys in Scotland, Cameron Carter-Vickers, James Sand, and Malik Tillman. But when those Scottish teams made the group stages, they got the doors blown off of them. It wasn't fun to watch. I mean, they were hemorrhaging goals, so they didn't stick around very long. But we like those players playing there. I think playing in Scotland has benefited Carter-Vickers. It's a good, tough league for a guy who's going to be becoming a tougher defender. James Sands obviously didn't work out great. Malik Tillman is, I think, doing very well and making some highlights, for better or worse, over the last month or so. And that is really what you want to do. Everything where the Americans are playing is good. They are getting the star treatment in a slightly smaller pond. I think Ricardo Pepi's a great example. Going to Groningen, scoring goals, scored again this weekend, and getting confidence in developing his game, albeit for a Dutch team in 17th place. Taylor Booth at Utrecht, becoming one of the main guys, the number 10 guy. He is hoping to make it. And some of these clubs might be able to make it into the Champions League, which we would like to see. I think Brendan Aronson's improvement for that run with Red Bull Salzburg, where they were so reliant on him, is fantastic. Because even when Christian Pulisic won it, Chelsea were relying at the end, but he wasn't like the featured guy. Or what we saw, obviously, Zach Steffen didn't get off the bench. Or Gio Reyna or Weston McKennie. We didn't have it like what you'd see with Aronson at Red Bull Salzburg. Staying in the Dutch league, Georgi Mihalovic. Alkmaar is in third place. Maybe they get into the Champions League. But you're not going to see them in the round of 16. But I think it's fine. The big thing is those three guys at Leeds cannot get relegated. We need more guys in the Premier League. We need more guys in the big leagues. Bundesliga, there's a couple there. We've got Joe Scally, obviously Gio Reyna, Kevin Paredes at Wolfsburg. All those teams are doing relatively well. We got a couple in Spain, Yunus Musa, Luca Della Torre. We need to get that number up. I think we're going to get a bunch more in Italy as we move along. I mean, maybe these rumors of Christian Pulisic, that would be fantastic. This is going to be his last few months at Chelsea. Although, unless he comes in and saves the day in the Champions League at some point. We want the guys in the big leagues. The smaller European leagues have been good for some of the guys I mentioned right there in the Dutch league. The Belgian league, who can forget Mark McKenzie playing for Genk? They are in first place in the Jupiler League. Sam Vines, who's injured, I believe, at Royal Antwerp, they're in third place. Two teams from Belgium go in. Brian Reynolds at Westerlo is in seventh. So they're doing well. Haji Wright in Turkey for Antalyaspor. These guys are all doing very well. I wanted to take a moment when I bring up the Turkish league to a moment for Christian Atsu as just the devastation from these earthquakes. I mean, we talk about tragedies. I just haven't. The sheer numbers don't touch what's happening in those countries. So spare a thought for the folks there. Their lives have been turned upside down. And now Christian Atsu, who just got to Turkey to play, and then he is the wrong place at the wrong time. Very sad. Very, very sad. So I think we got a reminder. Just read up on what's happening there. It's truly stunning. As I do a quick pivot here, there were... obviously, you have guys in the championship, and we have guys that might be able to come up. This is all good for those guys. They've all developed. I mean, Middlesbrough and Zach Steffen. Zach Steffen, great that he got that Champions League experience. Great that he got to train at Man City. By the way, Matt Turner will be a Champions League player possibly next year, unless he goes on loan from Arsenal. So he might get that Zach Steffen effect here. But Zach's now playing at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough is in third place. They're, as it stands, going to be participating in the promotional playoffs. Luton Town with American goalkeeper Ethan Horvath's in fourth. They're in the playoff spots. Norwich with Josh Sargent are in ninth. West Brom with Daryl Dike, who hasn't been playing as much, is in 10th. You got Austin Trusty, Birmingham, Dwayne Holmes. They're a little further down. And who would you want? Because there's only one of those guys are going to be promoted. You might get three of these teams in those promotion spots. I guess Sargent would be the guy because he's playing regularly. But they're a little further out. They're 3 points out. DK, I think he'll get back in there. They are 4 points out. If not, it would be great for one of the goalkeepers to make it in. We need more Americans in the Premier League. That is where you want to be. You've seen what's been going on. That's where these guys are going to make some crazy money. I want them to make as much money as possible, and that's where they're going to play the best competition. Just look at this weekend. Southampton beats Chelsea. Nottingham Forest get a point against Man City. The competition's through the roof. So it's good that these guys are at Leeds. They just got to stay up. And more will get there. And Crystal Palace with Chris Richards, they will stay up. Christian Pulisic, we might lose, but it will be a work in progress. And I just want to see 10. The Champions League is great, but I want to see 10 Americans in the Premier League. I want to flip through games and there's probably an American in every game or every other game on a Premier League weekend. You have the guys at Fulham. How could I forget about that? Maybe they get into the Champions League. I'm not kidding. They're like 5 or 6 points out. It's probably out of their depth, but Tim Ream is not a prospect, even though he's playing like he's 25. And Anthony Robinson, could be moving to a bigger club. He's been that good. So is Ream, but they're not touching a 35-year-old. Or 36. Is he 36 yet? I've heard Taylor Booth. There were some Manchester United rumors. That seems like a big jump because United are just unbelievable right now, but they still need to add. He could be a nice fringe piece. Wouldn't that be an American at Manchester United? We had it with Tim Howard, but this would be something else. Get him in the Premier League. Get him in La Liga. Yunus Musa and Valencia are in the relegation spots. He needs to get out of there. That is a club. You can't be on these bad clubs. But you see guys in top clubs in Belgium, top clubs in Germany, the top club in Belgium, playing in Turkey. Some of the smaller Central European leagues, perhaps they certainly get there. But, these big leagues is where you got to populate them. And it doesn't have to be the top teams. We had an incredible ball when these Americans were making their way into the Champions League. And these numbers were getting unbelievable. You're like, whoa, slow down. I can't keep up with this. Well, it has slowed down. And it's not going to be the viewing experience that it was a year ago or 2 years ago when we had 2 Americans in the final, albeit one was playing, one was on the bench. Still breaking new ground. We got to keep the momentum, but we've got to be realistic about where's the best positions for these Americans. And who could be coming next? Who are those guys that will populate these leagues? Well, you have Paxton Aronson with Eintracht Frankfurt, who are in the Champions League round of 16, but Paxton's not going to really participate in that. So, Caden Clark, Leipzig, he made the bench this weekend. So Caden Clark, another guy who could be on that trajectory, much the way Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson went when they went Germany-Austria route. So those are good clubs. Man, Eintracht Frankfurt and Leipzig, get them in there and let these guys develop. More than anything, we just need sheer numbers. We want to see these guys playing in these elite competitions, but we just need to get the numbers up there. But I think we've moved on from, all due respect here, our prime guys playing in Austria or Norway, Denmark. You want them to be playing in one of those big feeder leagues, maybe Portugal. We don't have it. We have Reggie Cannon at Boa Vista, who are not going to make the Champions League. I'd like to get a few more there. But certainly Germany makes sense, and the Premier League, which is becoming such a sensation here. We got the Leeds. It's looking pretty bleak. And by the way, Leeds should be ashamed of themselves. They really should not have fired Jesse Marsch. They had no plan. They've got these assistant guys who are out of their depths. Jesse Marsch should still be in charge there. They lost this weekend to fellow relegation candidate Everton, and now the heat is most certainly on. The American players are just not playing the bigger part. Tyler Adams certainly is. Tyler Adams is always in a scuffle, by the way, and that's got to stop. Because the teams know that. The opposing teams know that, and they get under his skin. But I'm optimistic. It's okay. You're not going to enjoy the Champions League as you did a season ago, but look at this list of guys. It is endless, and there's those great stories. I talk about Mihalovic, who's gone to the bench, or Ricardo Pepi, or Taylor Booth, or Mark McKenzie. Mark McKenzie is an incredible success story. It is good. Let's get him into the top leagues. Let's worry about the Champions League a little bit later. The Soccer OG. Check out all the videos here on my YouTube page. Go check out the Soccer OG podcast from wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, go to the store, the/OG/shop0.myspreadshop.com. See you then.